for 2 years here, we had so many people pumping PulseX. Here's why PulseX is going to be better than Pulse and the buy and burn and everything, which, hey, buy and burn's awesome. That's cool. And I think it'll be a great DEX and everything. Was this just a case of people pumping their own bags? But PulseX, so this was some drama this week. So the buy and burn, there was kind of a panic by some that it was paused. Dip Catcher made a couple of terrific threads on this and went through in the comments and was responding to people. I found those both really, really helpful to see what was going on. At first, it looked like his hypothesis was it looked like there is an incoming update to PulseX on the test net that was creating this issue, and that update was coming soon. Then, though, I'm not going to pretend I totally understood the other post, but basically it looked like there was some sort of, I don't want to call it an exploit. I'll have to just put the Dip Catcher thread in the chat for everybody to check this out. The thing is, though, as good as his deep dives were and will continue to be, it's kind of moot now because the big man tweeted earlier today, Richard Hart tweeted about this issue, actually, which I think was really good, like we talked about earlier, to let everybody know what may have been going on. So here was the post about what the PulseX buy and burn from Richard. Why is Pulse Chain so much better than any other layer 2 scaling solution? Lots of reasons. For instance, what just happened with Starknet. Apparently, everyone that didn't upgrade to a new wallet on time lost all their coins. The Pulse Chain network is battle-hardened and truly decentralized and amazingly efficient. Transactions are about 1,500 times more affordable than Ethereum currently and 1,000 times more affordable than Bitcoin. Finally, at the end, he says, PulseX has a new buy and burn contract on testnet, appears to solve some nested LP things. So to Dip Catcher's first hypothesis, yes, there is an update on testnet. It's a new buy and burn contract coming. So I don't think that we've lost out on any kind of significant buy and burn for a couple of days or anything like that. It just looks like there's a new contract coming for it. What do you make of this, Ewok, now that we at least know what the answer is? And some people were upset about this because they were saying, well, this proves that it has admin keys. And what's the point of no admin keys? And I think what it is the buy and burn contract and what it is set to is different from admin keys for the whole blockchain. It's not necessarily the same thing. So what do you make of this whole ordeal and Richard's tweet today?
So to address that last thing you said, any kind of L1 has to have admin key access so that upgrades can be made, so that if there are problems, they can be fixed. So, when we talk about admin key free consensus locked contracts like that, you can't really do that with a layer 1. Otherwise, it's just you deploy it and there's never any upgrades that can be done. Now, the buy and burn is part of the PulseX. I guess they called it like a toolbox or something like that. That is how they can add liquidity incentive for the farms and things like that. And the buy and burn was part of that access. So what was happening was that there was somebody, there's some freaking smart people out there who wrote a smart contract and a bot to run it that was continuously spoofing the liquidity provider tokens, so that it made it look like it was a buy and burn, but instead of sending it to the Pulse buy and burn contract, it was sending it to a random wallet. Now they got away with about 1.7 billion tokens, from what I saw, and just to be open with that, it's about 0.01% of the total supply. So it's not much. It's there's not much there. If they dumped them, they might have gotten 50 grand total. So they caught it after a couple days of noticing it. Somebody spotted it was happening, whatever. But the buy and burn was froze. So that means that any transaction that's happening is now being pulled. So once that new contract goes live, everything that's pulled there from the time that it's down will get buy and burn. So potentially when this goes live, we could see a nice green candle.
True. Yeah.
Might be a good buy-in opportunity before that buy and burn gets launched, because I don't know how many transactions I don't know what's sitting there waiting to happen. But yeah, if you're not following Dipcatcher, you really should. He's a
Definitely.
great follow. He's a coder himself. He's part of the Maximus crew. So yeah, he's super intelligent. He puts out some very nice tweets with the very informational stuff. So yeah, if you're not following him, you really should. He's a top-notch dude.
Absolutely, yeah. And you just described exactly what his follow-up tweet was about the other billion pulse and everything. So, yeah, I'm with you. I mean, yeah, because of the delay on the buy and burn for a couple of days, yeah, we could see something. And it also explains what I wanted to talk about now is the widening of this ratio. So, PulseX really has held up really well with Paul. Now, even though hey, don't get me wrong, the price is shit. No, I'm not saying that compared to USD, but the ratio to Pulse really since launch after the ratio trading period, which was a whole other story, has really remained right around that 3-to-1 ish area, Pulse to PulseX, which is very good for PulseX.
Mhm.
But for the first time in a while now, we've seen that widen to about 4-to-1. Now, I wonder if that may narrow once we see the buy and burn correct itself here. But I guess my question for you, Ewok, is, it's no secret. I mean, we all know that more people sacrifice for PulseX, way more money was sacrificed for PulseX for nothing other than the simple fact that it was months after, six,
Right.
7 months after the
Right.
Pulse chain sacrifice. So for 2 years here, we had so many people pumping PulseX. Here's why PulseX is going to be better than Pulse and the buy and burn and everything, which, hey, buy and burn's awesome. That's cool. And I think it'll be a great DEX and everything. But was this just a case of people pumping their own bags? And, in what ecosystem does the DEX outperform the L1? It's not a typical thing, especially for like the first cycle anyway.
Right.
But yeah, we are seeing what I think is the natural result of more people holding PulseX, more money being in PulseX at first, more sacrifice funds people were waiting to hopefully get back, even though they shouldn't have been with PulseX, that dumped it maybe right away. So,
Yeah.
what do you make of that? Will we see this ratio widen? If and when it does, do you think it's wiser to start DCAing? If you're maybe if you're buying both these assets, Pulse and PulseX, maybe start doing 60-40 PulseX to Pulse or something like that. If that ratio widens, what do you think about that? What do you think about the ratio, and how would you DCA in if you wanted to?
I think the thing you have to keep an eye on is the amount of liquidity tying the two together.
Mhm.
I do think the buy and burn had something to do with it getting closer to 4-to-1 rather than 3-to-1. And I'm not sure. I haven't looked into how that would come into play, but I don't think the liquidity pair between the two has changed an awful lot. So it would make sense that because of that being kind of just held there and frozen, um, I think we have to kind of wait to see till that contract goes live to see if it does come back to that right around 3-to-1 ratio. If it doesn't, that means potentially that the liquidity between the two coins has changed. Or again, people are just losing faith and swapping out of Pulse X into another coin, whether it be into Pulse or into Hex or Incentive or Pepe or something. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Who
yeah.
knows? What it could be. I haven't dug into the trades that much to really get a good idea, and I didn't realize that it had pulled that far apart until we were just talking about it, and you said the price. I saw it. I'm like, oh, that's interesting, especially right now with the buy and burn contract not working. So I could totally see that having something to do with it. And like I said, once that goes live, we'll see if it kind of narrows that ratio a little bit, and we'll probably know at that point.
We know it's already, I just looked at it live. It's already actually come back down a bit. It's at about 3.56 right now, which, isn't really that far off from where it's been. It's been basically 1 to 3.
Yeah.
I think it was 4 to 1 for a period, or 1 to 4 for a period of time. But I don't know. I mean, luckily it doesn't look like there's anything to be concerned about with PulseX, but I do wonder, when we do get bullish and retail really comes in here, if those ratios continue to hold up, because there really just hasn't been some ridiculous, 1 to 8, 1 to 10 type scenario where it's like PulseX is what you want to be looking at buying exclusively here. It really hasn't been anywhere near that far off yet. So, yeah, if it's me and if I'm DCing into it and I need both of them, I'm probably just going to split it amongst them right now. And I understand, there's probably some hate out there from some people that would, more so just want to be all in Pulse right now. I wouldn't argue with you on that at all. I mean, it's do whatever you want to do. I mean, like if you want to be, split 33% among Hex, Pulse, PulseX, or, you differentiate the two hexes and do like 25, 25, 25, 25, whatever it is you want to do, that's fine. Different strokes for different folks, but the ratio suffered a bit, but it's really not all that far off. So, yeah.
Pac-Man's giving a little hate here too. He's throwing up a lot of negatives tonight of what happened to PulseX staking. I'm assuming he's talking about the single-sided staking. Who knows? I know it wasn't very high on his priority list until a bunch of people bitched about it. We do have staking. It's Hex. It's probably your best form of staking that we have. There's also the PH side. No, I know there's no hating. I get you. I see that, but we do have staking, and we have the PH system where I believe you can stake in those pools too and get even a better reward than I think you'll probably get with PLSX. So if you haven't checked those out, I would look into it. They're pretty high APY on there. And again, we've got the best staking that there is, and that's Hex. So I'm not too concerned about PLSX. I really don't think there's going to be any kind of extra incentive to not unstake. And I don't know that the return will actually be that great once we do get it. So, just a thought.
I was thinking that too. I don't know how big the return will actually be. It would be nice to have it, but I mean, I think it is good that, while the market is dead right now, and like sentiment is just going to be sentiment right now, especially with the SEC thing happening. Yeah. I don't think the introduction of single-sided staking right now, and I get it if you thought it was going to be there and it's not, and you're upset about that, whatever. But I think as far as narrative, I think that would be basically like a fart in the wind, honestly, right now. I mean, like if it was introduced, there'd be like a 48-hour, oh, cool, whatever, it's like, okay, November 28th, the SEC conference. So, in terms of narrative, that's all I'm saying. I know you may not care about that, and I do understand it. We are smarter than just, understanding narratives and prices and stuff. We know that, the more things happening on the blockchain, the more tech that's happening, the more exciting it's going to be in the bull run. So, I understand that, but I do think him spacing out updates like that as we do get gradually into more bullish times will be good. I mean, I do think that will be a good thing. It's just like time, it's just like wanting a product to come out in a bear market and not a bull market. Not much different than that. So